And welcome to the launch of Lakeview, our new data analysis software. It's been actually quite a long journey for us getting here, and we're very excited that we can finally share it with all of you and soon get it all in your hands. My name is Bas. I'm one of the product managers here at LUMICKS, and today I'll tell you a little bit more about why we're here today, but also how we got here and what you can actually expect from us in the journey to come. Together here with me is Emma, my colleague, and she will later on give you a live demo of Lakeview. And if there are any questions along the way, please ask them in the chat. We will either try to answer them during the presentations, or otherwise in the end, we will have time to go over either one of them. And with that, let's get started. So actually, throughout the years, whenever we're talking to customers, one thing that often comes up is that data processing is actually one of the most difficult things in becoming successful. And that data processing is along the whole way. So it's from managing your data to visualizing your data and ultimately to analyze it. And because of this, we've actually already started several initiatives along the past years. So PyLake is, of course, a very important one, and Harbor as well. And we know it has been a success because we know many of you guys are already using it and are really getting great feedbacks on this. However, what we see is that even with this, there is actually not an easy way to manage your data, also not one to easily have a look at your data. And in each one of these cases, you still rely on Python expertise to do it. And even though you can easily download scripts from Harbor, really adjusting them to your needs or even, and it sometimes be tricky. And if you then go to the data analysis part, what you also really see is that in the end, it really relies on users and whatever they put into it, as well as what they get out of it. So there's no standard way to do this. So all in all, what you see is that it really requires a specific know-how to do it. Because of this and because of the other things, it can easily become very time consuming and you have the user dependency in there. And this is a challenge that we saw and that we really want to take on. And yeah, that's what we had in mind when we were developing Lakeview. So if we really turn it around, wouldn't it actually be great if there was a way to easily manage and organize your data? And if there was a way that you could use to visualize all your data without using scripts or notebooks. And once you know which data sets you really want to look further into, that you can just export it for further analysis just with a single click. And all of that anywhere, anytime. Well, I have good news for you. These things are exactly what Lakeview will do. And the clip that you see here, the short one, you may have already seen online and in one of our social media. And we here at LUMICKS, we really believe that this will eventually completely change the way you take care of all your data. And for this, and especially how it really looks like, I will give the word to my colleague Emma in just a minute. And she will guide you through what is currently the first version of Lakeview. She will show you how the software looks like, how you can import your data, visualize it and export it, but also how you already can launch your current notebooks right out of Lakeview. But what is really good to keep in mind is that this is only the beginning. And in the coming time, we will really continue to build upon the platform with even more functionalities. But more on that later, and hereby I now give the word to Emma.
Okay, thank you, Bas. So, hi everybody, my name is Emma Kerkling. I work as an application scientist here at R&D at LUMICKS. And I will show you the Lakeview demo today. So, to start off, I just opened Lakeview. And what we want to start with is we want to put some data to our project. So I have been using Lakeview for quite some time now, since very first versions. And for me, it really changed the efficiency of how I look at my data and how I export it. So I have this button here. It's link data to projects. I can press that one and then load in some of my files. Or what I can do is I can just directly drag them in Lakeview like this. So currently Lakeview supports 5 different data analyses. And I will walk you through each and every one of them. So to start off, in gray, we have the markers here. Then in blue, we have a force distance curve, 2D scans, 2D scan stacks, and the kymographs. And I will start off by looking at one of the markers. So when you open it, you have your force curve right here, which I saved from pulling on a double-stranded DNA, as you might recognize. And what we're looking here is on the y-axis, we have the force in piconewtons. And on the x-axis, we have time in seconds. And whatever you saved in your marker, you can look here in your drop-down menu. So you can look at the distance in the nanometers or at your photon count for the RGB channels. And when you look at the force, you can pick which channel of the force you want to see. And you can switch with this button between your high frequency and low frequency data. And when you have the curve here, you can zoom in using your mouse scroll button for the whole of your data. And you can click and drag and move your curve around. And when you hover with your mouse over either one of the axes, you can also only zoom in that dimension. Close this. So this is all very easy to check your data, and it's very intuitive to work with. On the right, Lakeview shows your force calibration that is saved in Blue Lake. And what we got from customer feedback is that there was a need for the H5 files to be exported in another data type, because the H5 files can be a bit challenging to work with. So we have an export button here, and what you can do is we offer the option to export in CSV files, so in a CSV format. And for the markers, you can now choose your channel of interest. So let's say I want to look at the force distance. I can just do exports, and I can save it here. So Lakeview test. If you now go to let me save it one more time. Oh, it's here in my documents. If I now open it from here, then you see it's just a CSV file with my force 1 and my distance 1 that I extracted from Lakeview. So it's super simple. Currently, we only can do this now for our low frequency data. And this is because the H5 files are super compressed. So only the low frequency data, we now offer the function to export to CSV, just because of the size. And if we now go back to overview, we can take a look at the force distance curve. So this is very similar to what I just showed you from the markers. Again, you can zoom in and out and look at your data. And now here we have force on the y-axis plotted against the distance. And also the same export functions apply here. You can choose the different channels that you want to export. So moving on to a 2D scan. This is a 2D scan of some recent data I captured. We're looking here at 2 beats with a single DNA strand in between. And we have 2 red markers that we use on our DNA to facilitate fluorescent imaging, but also because it's on known locations on the DNA, we can use it to get out the positions of our bound protein of interest, which is here in green. So again, I can zoom in on the 2D scan, and what you can see here is we have a clear red marker over here, but also you see one of these green proteins bound very closely to one of the red markers. And this green protein is a single labeled Cas9 that we were looking at. And when you load in the data in Lakeview, Lakeview already applies a default contrast setting to your image. But you also have the option to play around with brightness and contrast yourself. So Lakeview scales the photon count range for each channel to the actual photon count that you gathered in Blue Lake. So it's different per channel, as you can see, and you can move your sliders to get the contrast that you like. And then we also have a second slider, which is the gamma slider. And in short, this defines a relationship between a pixel's numerical value and its actual brightness. And what you need to get from this is that it redistributes the tonal levels closer to how our own eyes perceive it. So you can play around with this slider. And again, this is also very intuitive. So I encourage you to try this out on your own data, because I think it's a very nice way to look at your brightness and contrast. And for the 2D scans, for the export function, the same button on the right, we offer 2 different types of export. So we have the TIFF files or the PNG. And when you select the TIFF file for export, you will export your original data. So you will export it without any of the image adjustments. And when you export a PNG, then you export this, what you're seeing now, as a PNG file with the automatically applied contrast or with your own manual contrast. And then can move on to scan stacks. So this, again, we have Cas9 data here, so the Cas9 in green. And we have a little navigator here at the bottom where you can navigate using the arrows through all of the frames, or you can use your keyboard to quickly run through them, which I think is a very nice function. And this data, what we're looking at now is that you see when I'm moving my right bead to the right, you see additional binding of the Cas9 protein. And this is because this is a protein that likes to bind on the DNA when it's under tension, so it binds in a force-dependent manner. And for the TIFF files, you can again do all your image adjustments. Then it will not do it frame by frame, but it will do it for all 18 frames in your scan stack. And you have the same options for exporting it as TIFF and PNG again. And then the last one that I want to show you is the Kymograph. So this, we can do a little image adjustment here. The background's a bit better. So yeah, you can, again, adjust your brightness and contrast. But what I really like from this Kymograph is that what I showed you in the beginning with the markers is that you can add a channel. So you can add up to 4 channels here for your markers. You can do that. And for this particular example, what I said before with the force-dependent binding of this Cas9 protein, I think it's a super nice way to quickly check your data together with a force curve that is shown here. And when you zoom in on your Kymograph, you automatically also scale your force to it. So I think this is a very nice feature to have. And for exports, you have the same options again, but now combined. So for your Kymograph, you can export it as a TIFF or as the PNG with the automatic adjustments. And you have the channels from your marker, so you can export your force distance, for example, directly all at once for this kymograph. And that were all the data types. So I want to finish off with showing you how to actually save a project. So you go up here and you can press save, and we can call it Lakeview webinar. And when you save a project in Lakeview, everything that we just did, Lakeview will remember. So if you then close off Lakeview and you open it, then Lakeview will keep all the image adjustments that you made, but also all the extra channels that you were looking at. So you can very quickly get in and out of analyzing your data without losing the progress that you made for the brightness or contrast or whatever you were looking at. So I think that's really nice. And that concludes my demo. So I hope I showed you all the nice functionalities of Lakeview and how easy it is to use. And I think if you have any questions, you can also put them in the chat, or maybe you already did. And then I will give the words back to Bas.
That we got was on the notebook.
Oh, yeah. So I forgot a super nice function, which is as well for the notebook as for the FD curve. So what Lakeview provides as well is that you can, when you right click on the Kymo tracker, it gives you an option to send it to the Kymo tracker notebook. And when you do that, it automatically opens up a Jupyter notebook, and this is provided by our PyLake team. So this is already on your laptop or on your computer when you've installed Lakeview. And then you can run this Jupyter notebook. So it opens up the file that we just saw. Here it selects the channel of interest. So in this case, green, because we're looking at the green protein, the Cas9. It asks you to crop your region of interest. So I was just looking here at the high force data, and I was cropping out my beads. And it has the Kymo tracker widget, which automatically tracks all of your lines. That is your bound protein. And then from that, your notebook will give you the subsequent analysis. So this is really an easy way to also quickly do direct analyses from your data in Lakeview. And it also has the same function for the force distance curve. Yeah. So, Bas, back to you, I think.
Thanks a lot, Emma. All right, so yeah, as I mentioned before, what we just showed is really the start of Lakeview as a platform, but again, only the start. So you saw that for all the subsequent analysis, you still require specific Python things, but also this is something we are working on. So how we really envision it is that the platform, as you just saw it, will be something that we will offer really to everyone for free. But then on top of this, we will be making add-ons with more advanced and premium data analysis features. And the first one we are working on that is the Kymo tracker. And for this, you can already see a little bit of a sneak peek here. So again, really something that's still in the works, but you can see how all the different functionality of PyLake have been fully integrated here and even automated. So here, the cropping is already done automatically. You can automatically track all your lines. And then also from here, start to automatically generate graphs. So here on the binding profile, and you can imagine you can even do more analysis on this. And yeah, with all of this, we really believe that together with you, we are making a big step towards making this kind of science accessible for any scientist out there. So yeah, we're really, really proud and excited to get it into your hands. And that's maybe also the next question. So what is next and how do you get your hands on it? So first, download Lakeview. you can either go to lakeview.lumicks.com or you will get an email from your application scientist with the link. Secondly, try it out and really see how it works for your workflow. And yeah, we really hope and think that eventually and hopefully very soon you can really incorporate it into your daily workflow and use it for everything. And while doing so, we would really invite you to share all your feedback with us. So in the email that you will get from your application scientist, that will also include a questionnaire that you can use to provide your feedback. And yeah, your feedback can be anything. It can be things that are not working well for you, but definitely also things that are working well for you. But also ideas that you have and functionalities that we can incorporate. And everything that we get back from you is very important input for us for the things we're going to develop in the future. So yeah, really looking forward to hearing how all of you will experience it. Few small final footnotes is that this very first version is only available for Windows as of now, but the Mac version is coming very soon. So hang in there and we'll get back to you shortly on that. And another one is that the data should be acquired on Blue Lake 1.6 or higher. So also that is good to keep in mind. That's we ended from our side on the presentation side, but also open the floor for any questions in the chat. So curious to hear whatever you have to say.